I'm an addict. My name's CJ, and you know, proud to be a member of a fellowship that has the ability to save and change lives. You know, and I thank you, Joe, for asking me to come and speak here today. It's been a real busy day with all the. I had so many things I had to get done. Then I had to catch a flight, and then I had to get the bus here, but I made it in time. You know, and you know, I'm just so blessed. I was reflecting a little bit, especially, you know, Roseanne came in here and George came in here. It's so cool. Here I am, I'm in Orlando, and yesterday I was at a meeting with George, you know, in Fort Lauderdale. And, you know, it's just to have family everywhere today is just, you know, it brings tears to me, you know, because, you know, through you know, I always got to thank, you know, the people that came before me. You know, I mean, I see George in here. George sold his washer and his dryer so we could have a basic text, or he didn't even know we were going to have a basic. He just knew we needed some literature, and he wanted to be a part of something special. You know. And he, I think he went to Nebraska. I'm not sure. He had $38, went to Nebraska, and was there for like 2 weeks with $38, and just had faith. You know, he just, you know, the guys that sold their blood so they could print the basic text. You know, so many things that have gone behind the scenes that aren't talked about as much. You know. But those people cultivated Narcotics Anonymous to make it a great place when I slid in here, you know, and I love it. And to show my respect, I try to be of service. I try to stay an active member of this fellowship, to give back the gift that was so freely given to me. I'm not thankful for this gift. I'm grateful for this gift. And my grateful is how I live. Not by what I say. So many I see come in here so many times, and they just say, "Oh man, I love Narcotics Anonymous. Thank you." You know, and they come once a year to get their key tag. You know, they don't have a home group, they don't serve, but you know, that's them. The people that I surround myself with, and that I really want what they have, are the people that are, you know, very active in the fellowship. I was taught early on by the members in my Northeast area in New Jersey, where I got clean, you know, to stay involved. And, you know, I just never, you know, I went on this long road, man. You know, I lived a pretty cool life, man. I lived a horror show in my childhood, being institutionalized and in hospitals and institutions. I had epilepsy. And for 4 years, they kept me in hospitals with a motorcycle helmet on. And I didn't interact with kids. And, you know, kids are quite cruel. Nobody wanted to hang out with the freak child. I was the freak child, you know, because I'd have seizures all the time. And they didn't know how to act, you know. And, you know, so I was like, nobody wanted to hang around with me, you know. But, you know, I found that in the late 60s, man, I found the hippies, man, and they just loved me up, man. And I hitchhiked around the country for 13 years. What a great time it was, you know, the late 60s, the 70s, early 80s. And then I went into, my friends told me, let's go into this place called the Lower East Side of New York. I went in there, and about 8 years later, it took this free-spirited cat and it got me to living in a 4x4 block radius. It had me selling my ass on the corner. It had me living a hopeless, helpless life, you know? And I'm just so grateful that I found this gift, you know? And I heard the message in the shooting gallery, you know? And, you know, when I came, y'all loved me up, you know? And that's why I love the Philippines meeting, the Zoom meeting, because anybody that's new, we try to include everybody and make people feel special and a part of something. And you see, that's what you all did for me. y'all love me when I couldn't love myself. I never forget walking into that first meeting, and saying, I need help, and they all got up and they gave me a hug and said, keep coming back, man. And they said all these wonderful, you know, 5 minutes before the miracle happens. And afterwards, they all went to the diner. And this is one of my great stories I love, but it really got me to keep coming, And when they asked me to go to the diner, I said I didn't have any money. I said, we didn't ask you if you had any money. We asked you to come to the diner, And so they bought me a cheeseburger deluxe. And, I said to them, how can I ever, ever, ever repay you? And they said, when you're able to, do for someone else what was done for you. And I always say that's the most expensive fucking hamburger I ever had, man. But you know what? It comes back, And that's the key. And I heard the message through this girl. But I don't want to share. I just want to go up, because that's I'm going sort of like a, my story that I do all the time. And man, I just want to say, man, I came in here and I listened to you guys. And they said, I would never forget, someone said, you owe it to yourself to make 90 meetings in 90 days. If that sounds like too much, make a meeting a day and the 90 will take care of itself. And they said, if after 90 days, your life doesn't improve or get better, your misery will be kindly refunded to you. And I said, the least I can do is I can try this thing for 90 days. But the second meeting, I got the evidence. I got the home run. I got what I needed. Coincidences is God's way of remaining anonymous. And what happened to me at that second meeting that I went to, the same girl in the same shooting gallery I was, that she was celebrating 2 years at that meeting. And I known her as a conniving B word. And now she was a selflessly serving, loving, wonderful woman, And you could see she had an awakening of the spirit as a result of these steps. I wanted what she had, And she took me to meetings. She plugged me into this fellowship. And I did what she told me to do. And I got with some people. And I started building a support group. Shortly afterwards, I met some crazy people. These crazy people were fun people. They showed me you could have fun in Narcotics Anonymous. They showed me that, I thought you had to be perfect in here. And I met this guy named Dutch. And he's the farthest thing from perfect, but boy, was he fun, and you'd laugh. And we would travel down to Atlantic City, and it was a 2-hour drive, and we would drive down there 2-3 times a week. We would go to different meetings, to go out into the area to help support new meetings that were starting up. I got involved with the people that helped me make Narcotics Anonymous fun. It was fun what we did. We had the thing what I call it the Mecca of recovery. It was a place called St. Mark's. It was the Howe Club, St. Mark's. People know it is, both names. And what it was is they had 24-hour meetings almost. And on the weekends, there would be 1,000 to 2,000 people that would gather on this street, and it was just like, I'll never forget though. There was one guy there, and he sort of, you never know when you're going to hear the answer and when you're going to be able to apply it. And I used to go there, and there was this guy there, and he's passed on, but his name was Santos. And he always used to say, only fucking punks use. And I'd be like, wow, this guy's a jerk. Why does he always say that? And I'd go again, there he'd be, only fucking punk. Every time he shares, punk shoes. And so one day I go up to him and, you know, I say to him, hey, Santos, I said, I know you always say only punk shoes all the time. I said, but isn't this program about love? You don't seem to have any love there. And he said, listen, motherfucker. And he said, it takes a lot of courage to walk through feelings. Only fucking punk shoes. And he turned around and walked away. And I was like, he was a bigger jerk off, you know? But I never forget, man, you know, I had gone down to the Bahamas Convention. I'm probably going to bounce all over, you know. But I went to the Bahamas Convention and I met this girl down there, and she was from Washington, D.C. Actually, Fawn sponsored her at the time. And, you know, we got together and it was wonderful, you know. She would come up to me every other week. I would come down to her. And so Christmas was coming. And so I got us a nice trip to Hawaii. And we went to Hawaii for Christmas, and we got in an argument, and she left me for the taxi driver. And I mean, it's hysterical now, man, but at the time it wasn't. And there's going to be certain times where it's only going to be you, God, and what you going to do, motherfucker. And all I could hear was that guy in the Lower East Side of New York, St. Mark's, only fucking punk shoes, you know? And the guy's words I hated, and the person that I had a disliking because of the way he presented it, were the same words that helped me get through one of the hardest moments in my life, you know? You know, and then, you know, right, you know, after that, I said, hey, I'm going off crazy here now. But what I did was I got involved in this thing. And I really got involved with conventions. I got involved with, my home group started the first ever speaker jam that there ever was. I got involved with just giving back this gift. And we had a thing for, like I said before, like my buddy Jim Bauer, Jim B from Allentown, Pennsylvania. Once a month, they'd have a spaghetti a dinner before the meeting. And we'd get like 5 carloads and we'd all go down and support it, you know? And then when we had that first speaker jam, they actually rented a bus to come to this first speaker jam. It was about supporting each other, you know? And you know, it was fantastic time, man. And you know, but I got involved with so much service that I like to say I became a little bit more of service-based recovery than recovery-based service. And what I needed to do was I started to step back because I had, you know, so many commitments. I mean, I had so many damn commitments, man. It was just like my sponsor said, CJ, every time a commitment becomes, you know, you fulfilled your commitment, don't take another one. I want you to start doing some more work on you. You give back, and CJ, you give back. I never tell anybody not to do service, but you do so much service. I need you to put more effort into your step work and less into service. And then once you do the step work, then you'll have recovery-based service instead of service-based recovery, you know? And that's what I did, man. And I did this journey through the steps. And, you know, we were sort of guided wrong. When I got clean in the 80s, we were taught by the one guy, the main guy in our area was taught that you do a step a year. So what we were doing a step a year because that's what he was teaching all his sponsees, and then they were teaching us. And then this guy, Ronnie G, who became my sponsor for 20 years, he came from California in the late 80s, and we became great friends. And I picked him up at the airport, became really good friends with him, his whole family. So Ronnie, man, Ronnie came, man, and I just like, you know, he was spouting stuff I'd never heard before, you know, and you know what he was doing is he had internalized, you know, the 12 steps, and he had read the book inside and out. He had worked the steps over and over. He does all 12 steps every year, you know. So he had a much deeper understanding of them, where we were just like the blind leading the blind, doing the 1, 2, 3 cha-cha, you know, and you know. So in the third step, it talks about we make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. And the 11th step, it talks about God's will and our will become one in intuitive matter. And how do we get there? And we get there by making the decision in the third step to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. Well, you see, when I say that, let me go back to say I had a hard time with the third step. See, the second step was easy. You know, so all we had to do is believe in this power that was loving, caring, and greater than ourselves, you know, and, you know, you can call it the group, or you can call it God, or you can call it your sponsor or another recovering addict. You know, I had no problem with the power greater than myself, but the God word, I had a real problem with, you know, and my sponsor saw me, you know, getting a little squirrely, you know. He said, "What's up, CJ? You don't seem yourself." I said, "Yeah, I come from this area, Northeast areas, mostly Black, and they would all high five each other. God is good all the time. It was like a Southern Baptist thing." And so I said, "Well, all you people seem to have this God of your understanding, man, and I don't, you know, I don't, you know." I said, "The higher power thing's cool, man, but I don't have a God of my understanding." And he showed me, and he pointed me to this part in the literature. It says we need to be honest about our belief if we are to grow spiritually. And so he said, "CJ, do you believe it's God's will for you to work the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous?" And I said, "Without a doubt." He said, "Make a decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of Narcotics Anonymous. Continue on with the steps, and he'll reveal himself somewhere else down the line." And, you know, that's what I did. I made a decision, and, you know, I did the most loving thing that I could do for myself. In that fourth step, man, I wrote about all the stuff. I wrote about being molested, but that's what I love about Narcotics Anonymous. Where else can you come and hear the answer without asking the question? You know, I never forget, I came into a meeting and a guy was up there telling his story, and he shared that he was molested. Never in my life did I ever, I was going to the grave with that. I was never going to tell anybody. And my whole life, I thought I was the only one that was ever molested, you know? And when I heard him say that, I was like, oh, God, I'm not alone, you know? But in that fourth step, I wrote about a guy put a gun to my head and raped me. I wrote about selling my ass on the corner. I wrote about my mother was in the hospital for 8 days. I didn't go see her once. You know, I wrote all those things, man, because what we got to do in that fourth step, we got to get all that stuff we've been pushing down our whole lives. We got to get that stuff up and out of us so more higher power can come into us, so we can be a better vessel for carrying the message. And the fifth step, we got to the exact nature. And the exact nature is all revolves around self-centered fear, either losing something I think I have or not getting what I think I want, you know? And man, and very much with the sixth step. See, when you get done in the exact nature in the fifth step and doing the fourth step, your sixth and your eighth step are all already lined up. A start is there for you, you know, and you know, it's very similar. The sixth step is all the defects of character that are blocking you from getting closer to your higher power. See, we got all these blockages that are blocking us from getting closer to our higher power. And as we remove some of these blockages and the love and power works in our life, we're able to get closer and become a little bit less self-centered and just a little bit more God-centered. And this way we're better vessels for carrying the message. You know, I got a point in my recovery and I said, I'm just getting real here. This is what I usually don't share this. I mean, it's nothing that, but I said, am I really living my life? Or am I living society's life for me? And what I mean by that is, you know, I don't know about you, but I think we're ingrained to, we go to high school, we graduate high school, and we're supposed to go to college, you know, get a degree, meet a wife in college, have 2.2 children, the white picket fence and all that. Well, me, you know, none of that ever happened. I never graduated high school, but, you know, I think that's the unquote way of society, and success is measured in the material things you have, you know, and to me, that wasn't success. To me, I thought I was sort of being a failure because here I was not living the life I want to live. And I was living the life that society, they said, go get a house. So I got a house, you know, I got all these things. And when I found out that I really didn't own these things, they owned me. And I made a decision. This was 22 years ago. I made a decision to sell everything I own and to travel the world and live my life, because my life, the greatest gift in my life was when I hitchhiked around the country for 13 years. And when I sold everything, it enabled me the freedom to go and live the life that I want to live through Narcotics Anonymous. So what I started to do is I started to go to international conventions and interact with people. And all of a sudden, you know, I started building these relationships internationally. And you know, now I've been to 101 countries for Narcotics Anonymous, not through Zoom. I actually go to the country, you know, and my dream is maybe I won't do it by 22 in November for the Australia World Convention, but I hope by the Washington, D.C., that I'll be in all 140 countries for Narcotics Anonymous, you know, and you know, it's such a joy to go and experience. When I go to some of these places, I say, wow, I get a little glimpse of what George was going, and Al, who's going to speak next week, went through when the fellowship, they had to drive 20, 30, 40 an hour sometimes, 2 hours sometimes. A girl, Janie Reed, she's from Scotland. She started the fellowship in Scotland. They had no fellowship in Scotland. And every weekend she would hitchhike. I love this girl. She's 83 years old now, but she hitchhiked every week from Glasgow, Scotland, which is about a 6-hour straight drive, all the way to London, so she could be a part of the fellowship, to go back to Scotland and sit there and hope somebody comes to a meeting, you know, sort of like a Bob Barrett type, you know, I found the only meeting, you know, and you meet these people and you see and you go. When I was in Azerbaijan just a little over a year ago, this January, they just celebrated their 4th year. And when I was there, they were coming up on their 3rd year, you know. But I mean, I've had so many priceless stories. You know, when I spoke at the South Africa convention, I got to have 3 lions in my arms, you know. I had this Muslim lady, you don't hug people. I had this Muslim lady hug me. She's not even in the program. And she came behind the counter where she was baking, and she came and gave me a big hug. And everybody in the whole place is just looking at me, and she's hugging me, and our hearts touch each other's hearts. It's a longer story than that, you know. I told the story to Joe and Kat before. You know, I went to Egypt. They picked me up in Egypt. The members, they took me to the pyramids. I rode a camel around the pyramids, down to the Sphinx, kissed the Sphinx, and then we drove to the Nile River, and we had a meeting. We go half an hour down the Nile and a half an hour back. All these, you know what? I never thought I'd get out of a 4x4 block radius. And I've been blessed with all these priceless experiences to live the life that I want. Just because I traveled to 101 countries, just because I sold everything doesn't mean you have to sell everything. But what happens is you find yourself. And when you find yourself, you're able to live the life that you want to live. You know, I've lost 2 children in this process. You know, it wasn't in my cards. You know, I loved the way I see it. George interact with his child, man. It brings me to tears because, like, I was sort of disabled when I was young. Nobody wanted to be around me, and man, to see the love that the fellowship has for Moose, you know, it's just priceless, you know, and the love, the unconditionalness that I see in these members. It's not what people say so much. It's what they do. I get so much out of just watching George, you know. I get so much out of watching countless members, you know, Roseanne, oh my God, you know, I get so much out of just watching the people and how they live their lives. And that gives me the want to be more selfless or have more humility, you know, in my life. But I'm just so blessed. And Narcotics Anonymous came into my life, helped me find myself. And when I found myself, I'm living the life. I've lived in hotels now for the last 10 years. You know, it's either a hotel, service apartment, or guest house in Asia, you know, because I usually spend 4 months in Asia, 2 months in Europe, and 6 months in the States. You know, it's a priceless life. It's a freedom beyond freedom. You know the freedom we got when we gave up drugs? Well, it was another freedom just like that when I gave up material things and to live my life. You know, it was a whole different surrender. And that's what this whole process is. It's a total surrender to the principles. It's a total surrender to our higher power. And through that surrender gives me so much peace. And it gives, like I said, you know, I can't never thank y'all, you know, but what I try to do is I try to give back the gift that was so freely given to me, because they always told me the only way you keep this gift is by giving it away, you know, and I try to stay totally involved wherever I'm at and just give it, whether it's Zoom, whether it's conventions, whether it's home group, wherever it is, man. I just love to suit up and show up and serve, you know, and be there for that person, you know. And I'm just so grateful for the Jimmy K's, the Bob Barretts, and all the people that came before me, the Flowbirds, you know, if anyone knows Flowbird, you know, those names, those people, you know, I'll be eternally indebted to. I can't thank George enough for selling his washer and dryer. I can't thank the cats in Nashville or Memphis for selling blood so they could send out basic text to all of us so we could have a better life. And hopefully we can make it and keep doing and cultivate things so they can have a better life. And thank you, Joe, for letting me share.